Paragon 7 Studios.
You're listening to another episode of A Lady and Some Dudes podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of A Lady and Some Dudes podcast. Let's jump right into our NBA show and let us talk about the best player in the NBA, my main man, Kevin Durant. Now, you guys follow this show, you know I always have something to say about KD. What I've been noticing in the last few months watching the NBA is it seems like I can't watch 2 games in a row without commentators comparing players to Kevin Durant. Like, it don't matter what the team is, they're going to find somebody to make a comparison. So in this segment, which is our cap or no cap segment, we're going to talk about the latest person on the block, Michael Porter Jr. Commentators, Denver played the Clippers last night, and one of the things I kept hearing reoccurring during the game is Michael Porter is like KD. He's like another KD and Michael Porter Jr. So I want the guys to discuss, is this a true statement? Are we looking at the next Kevin Durant and Michael Porter Jr.? Or is it all cap?
To me, it's wishful thinking, cap. You are nowhere near the 7-foot graceful shooter. Every time KD plays, even on one leg, when he played in the finals, one leg, the game is so easy for him. Why y'all trying to get rid of KD? Let KD live. KD his flowers. Appreciate him. Once he's gone, then we could look for the next ambassador. But right now, he is who he is, which is one of the greatest players to ever play this game. Enjoy it. So stop the nonsense. Stop trying to replace him. Let him be. Let him be. Say it. Let him be. There will be no one like him. KD.
You know, is it cap or no cap? You know, I'll say it's cap, but I look at it a little bit differently. Now, if you're Michael Porter, I mean, of course, it sounds good to say, like, yeah, my game might resemble, although I don't think that's like 100% true. But when they compare the two, is a tall like stretch man who can shoot the rock. And ever since high school, that's what we've known Michael Porter Jr. to be. A guy, I mean, he can't score at the same efficiency as KD, but he can shoot the rock. Like, he can get to the cup. But I feel like it's not fair, not to just KD, but also to Michael Porter Jr. because of the situation he came into the league with. He came into the league having an injury. So, like Phil said, it's wishful thinking. And I think the fact that he had to sit out that 1 year and then he had to slowly work his way back from injury to get to where he is now, I don't think it's fair to Michael Porter Jr. at all, as well as KD, to compare the two, because of course they both got length, they both can shoot, but there's things that KD can do that Michael Porter is still like working on his game, although KD works on his game daily, because what did he say? I want to play the game to get better, to increase my development to where I'm basically unguardable, which he kind of sort of almost technically is, but he's just trying to do it his way. But I think it's cap, because I mean, you can't really compare the two, because you got to think about this. He's only in his 3rd year in the league. He's only in his 3rd year, and then he's in a situation to where he's not the lead guy. We have to put him in a situation to where he's the lead guy to see if, oh, okay, all we see is glimpses. But nah, we need to see Michael Porter Jr. as the main guy to really make that assessment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And man, leave Kevin Durant alone. Leave him alone. Like, why can't I watch other people's games that's not the Brooklyn Nets? And all they want to do is talk about who's just like KD, who's like KD. Phil, I agree with you. KD is here, right? We get to see him play. And we can appreciate KD's game because he's actively playing. So why are we trying to just insert NBA player to kind of elevate to KD status? This is all cap. Michael Porter Jr. is a shooter. He can score. No one that watches the NBA is going to debate that. He is not Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, I mean, can we talk about Kevin Durant's last game? Because my dude came off the bench. He did not start. He came off the bench, dropped 42 points on 67% shooting, right? When KD...
How many percent?
67% shooting. When KD shoots below 50%, and that's rare, that does not happen often, people are concerned. Commentators are concerned. They're like, oh my gosh, he's shooting 49%. Is he injured? Right? Because there's a level that KD is on that other people just aren't on. KD can do what he wants at will. When you start comparing a player, I feel like you got to compare them holistically. KD is a good ball handler. He creates plays. He has, especially in that last game, he had 10 assists. But if you watch him, he can facilitate. Michael Porter Jr. can't even hold a dribble for 2 possessions in a row. Like, my thing is, like, if you're going to compare, let's compare everything. So, man, leave Kevin Durant alone. Kevin Durant is the best player on this planet. He is the best player in the NBA. It's not even close. Okay, look, I know I'm going off on a rant, but KD took like multiple breaks in the season, right? Because of injuries, so they say, whatever. When KD comes back from these breaks of injury, my dude comes in and shoots 100% from the field. He comes in and drops 35 points a game. He comes in, he'll come off the bench and drop 33, then go ahead and drop 42 in the next game. I'm like, there's no one like that. LeBron came back this week, right? And I don't know what LeBron was doing. I don't know where he was shooting them balls to. So come on, man. Stop comparing KD. He's the best. There's no one in his league. Outside of LeBron. LeBron is like second.
You left something out.
What?
You forgot that KD will troll you and then come out and drop 40. You missed that part.
Exactly. Right. And who is the savior of Twitter? Thank you, Alan. KD is the savior of Twitter, because not only is he going to roast you on the court and you can't do anything about it, he's going to fact check you. He's going to tell you off. He's going to tell you the truth about yourself. And he's the only player that does that. My boy LeBron, like, I really was down with his tweet, where he was like, you're next, but he deleted it. You know what I'm saying? And I hated that he did that, because KD would have stood firm in it. KD's on another level, even on social media. So let's put this to bed. Cap for everyone you're comparing to KD. I don't care who it is. And that's just the end of that. Now, if in 5 or 10 years, Michael Porter, I don't know, it might be a conversation that we'll have, right? Maybe LaMelo Ball might be in the conversation for the next KD. But as of today, as of May 2nd, 2021, he cannot be compared.
Look, as a fan, I'm not reaching that far with LaMelo. I'm respectful.
You put some respect on that name. I believe he is the greatest shooter of all time. I think he's a better shooter than Steph. I know y'all gonna say crazy.
Nah, you're crazy.
Yeah,
No, Phil, stop. Phil, stop. Stop.
I would say.
Listen, all
stop.
Steph does is shoot further.
Go to the next topic. Go to the next topic.
Wait. Let me just say this. Steph is a better shooter. KD is the best scorer I have seen in my life. Period.
KD is the most efficient scorer, but Steph is the greatest shooter. Greatest shooter.
Yeah.
Come on, Phil, stop it.
So okay, let me just throw this out there and we will transition. Game on the line. You coming down the floor. You
Katie.
need a
Katie.
you need a
Katie.
Okay.
Katie.
Katie.
Okay. All right, cool.
You're listening to the Lance J Radio Network. Rampage, the first lieutenant of the Universal Flipmo Squad.
We cannot teach grown people new tricks.
Nah, you gotta get to the youngins.
We have to change the culture, and the reason why we have to change the culture because it needs to change. So I'm in the school for 2 weeks. I had my first test. They get graded tomorrow. I'm teaching them the culture about putting playlists together like a mixtape. Make their own mixtape. The best mixtape gets a platinum record or some headphones.
That's dope.
James Lewis.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You get them cranks?
Yeah. So
plug for cranks
or video game because they got some gamers.
All right.
You know, I got some students and I got 20 students. Boom. I get a call from School of Hip Hop. Again, they want you to go to ASU and teach a curriculum class.
You're listening to the Lance J Radio Network.
I see you favor a 45.
Tonight I do. And I keeps one in the chamber in case you ponder it. Nice showpiece you got there.
Walther, PPK, 380, double action.
Hit them Walters like to jump some.
As will you, with one in your elbow.
That gun ain't got enough firepower to make my joint useless. It definitely won't stop me from emptying out half my mag.
You might not hit me.
This range? And this caliber? Even if I miss, I can't miss.
I admire a man with confidence.
You're listening to the Lance J Radio Network.
FreeAgentRadio.com. Free to play what we want, free to say what we want. FreeAgentRadio.com.
Beat rocked and dropped the beat.
You're listening to the Lance J Radio Network.
Okay, let's begin. Here it is.
Here it is. If I had to go to a deserted island, and I could take one album with me to listen to the rest of my life, it would be Mecca and the Soul Brother. I love you to death, cousin!
What's going on with you, bro?
It's that return to that 12, buddy!
You know, it all started from Heavy D. He started, everything. And I was basically under him. And, he believed in what I was doing and stuff. And we worked together and experimented and, decided to, do music together.
Let us transition, since we're talking about guards. Let's talk about Chris Paul. As you know, Chris Paul is on the Suns, have been all season, has had a huge impact. Now the Suns are diving feet first. If I'm not mistaken, the Suns may have the best record in the NBA. They have the second best record in the NBA. They are a guaranteed in the playoffs, right? They have secured their spot. And so my question to the guys is, obviously there's one common denominator, right? Last year they made the playoff bubble, but we don't count the Mickey Mouse tournament, right? But the Suns have not been able to make it to the playoffs. And this year, not only are they making it to the playoffs, they made it with authority, right? About to end second or even first in the West. Should this now put Chris Paul on the radar to be high up in the MVP conversation? I believe he is on the MVP list currently, maybe at number 4. But should this elevate him and let him be a real contender to win MVP this season?
he deserves to be in the conversation. Now, winning it, that's gonna be hard. Like when we think about the Steve Nash comparison, this is probably what it's gonna come down to, something similar as that. Um, because it's not that Chris Paul is putting up numbers that are wowing you like an Embiid or a Jokic or anything. It's just there are just certain players who just have a natural impact on the game, and they don't necessarily have to score the ball to show that impact. And that's what Chris Paul has. Because I feel like there's only a few players like that. I would say him, Rondo. You can probably even throw like Jason Kidd. Like there's only certain type of players who just have impacts on games, and they don't have to wow you with the stats. Now, for him to win, like I don't really know like what else is it going to take, because like from just what I glanced over, he's averaging 16 and I can't remember how many assists, 16 and 8. They sound good. Those are that's almost a double double, almost Steve Nash type numbers, but it's not the 7 seconds or less running gun. We're about to go ahead and throw lobs up to Sean Marion or Amari Stoudemire, or you got Quentin Richardson in the corner. It's like he's just able to lead a bunch of young guys with Devin Booker, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. He's showing them how to win in the league. And he's just that one leader that they needed to just be able to get over this playoff drought, because it's their first playoffs in almost 11 years. So will he win it? It's going to be hard, but I definitely believe that he just deserves to be able to get some votes for the most valuable player this year.
Chris Paul, out of his 15 years, missed the playoff 3 times. 3 times. 4 times. 11 years. Every team he's been on becomes a successful team. From when the Pelicans used to be the Hornets, he took them to the playoff, and they haven't been same since. When they were originally here in Charlotte, he did his job, and when he was at Clippers, he literally brought them almost to they were tied a contending team. If he didn't get hurt in Houston, they would have beat the Golden State Warriors and went to the finals and I believe win the championship. Chris Paul is a quintessential point guard. He does everything you need to do to win. After what he did to the Knicks, and he said, I'm coming to the Mecca and I'm taking over this game. If Chris Paul wanted to, he could score at will. He has the move. I've seen what he done to he could do, but his primary job is to get everyone fed. If they lack, he comes in. He has taken the bubble team, which I rave, the best team in the bubble was the Phoenix Suns. We had the best coach in the bubble, right? Because they went undefeated, but didn't qualify because of their regular record. I believe he had brought them to the second best team in the league. Could you imagine? The second best team in the league. And what we thought was what team was going to be leading. We thought the Lakers, the Clippers, Denver. He jumped all of them. And he beat Utah. He beat Utah on Friday night, just passed. And they destroyed him. He deserved to be consideration for MVP, and he will get my vote as MVP. Is he going to win? No. Why? Because the voters are in love with Jokic. All you hear is Jokic, Joker. Right?
Phil, you got to vote?
If I had a vote. If I had a vote.
I was about to say, like, who can I call so I can...
Don't worry. In the future, I may get this vote. If I had a vote, he would get my vote. Him, he will get my first or second place vote, first place vote, then Julius. Not to be biased. But is he going to win? No, because the media has fallen in love with Jokic and Embiid. They have fallen in love with those two guys. I think number one is Jokic. Number two, I don't know who's number two right now. Drop. So Jokic, I think it's Embiid, and then it's probably be LeBron. So, but I also will put up in there Julius Randle. He deserves consideration, not to win, but top 5 vote. So that's what I believe.
So I always kind of veer off the path when we talk about MVP because I know the general fan is going to look at numbers. How many points does he have? How many assists does he have? You know, just depending on the position of, you know, the athlete is playing in. And when I think about MVP, I truly, truly, truly objectively just look at the most impactful. If you took this player off of a team, what would the team do? Would the team be in this position? Or would they not even come close to achieving this? So with that as my marker and knowing where the Suns have been the last few seasons, like Phil mentioned, for them to be now, they are holding the second best record. They can end the season in the next 9 or 10 games being the best team in the NBA. We just don't know yet. I feel like that impact is not only great, like impact is pretty astronomical. Because when you look at some of the other contenders, like LeBron, for instance, like he's way down on the list now. It's like if LeBron wasn't on the team and they had like AD on the team, would the Lakers potentially make the playoffs? Some people would say no, but maybe. I mean, AD is kind of soft and he just got dunked on the other day. So his ego is hurt. But
I'll defend him. That was an offensive foul, yo. I'll defend
I
him.
mean, I don't know. I watched the tape, but but you know, when I look at Chris Paul, what he's doing for these Suns, like they have, in my opinion, they have like a legitimate unit. Like they can surprise everyone and come out of the West. You know what I'm saying? And so when you talk about impact, when you talk about adding a piece that just changes the whole dynamic of a team, this is like the quintessential example for me. And I feel like Chris Paul has done it. He is the most valuable player to his team compared to the other contenders on other teams. That's my opinion. I feel not only should he get the votes, he should win. The reality is he's not going to win because all these NBA fans love to see a white man elevated, right? And so we know Joker is going to get that. We know it. We know it.
But if he's taken off that team, how well do you think the Nuggets would be?
They'll be fine because they have
fine.
They have the newborn KD. They have weapons. They have weapons.
Here's the thing. So I'm not going to be super unrealistic. I feel like the Nuggets will still win games. They definitely won't be what they are because Joker as a center, not only does he score, he facilitates, like he kind of does everything. Like he's kind of like the heartbeat of that team. Take him off, I still see them winning games, not as much, but I feel like they'll be semi okay. I feel like
7 seed.
You take Chris Paul off. I'm sorry, like the Suns are not making the playoffs this year.
I think they would be back in the playing game or like in position for a playing game if they didn't have Chris Paul.
I think the Nuggets will be I think the Nuggets will be a 7 or 8 seed at worst.
Where are the Nuggets right now?
4.
They're the 4th seed.
4th seed. And see, that's what bothers me. You can't be MVP and you're not winning and you're not the top of the seed. You're not top. You know, you gotta be top top 3 at least.
But here's the thing though, like you gotta think about here's the thing, like when you look at the actual standings, especially like when it comes to the West, you could say top 4, but guess what? You're only like 3 or 4 games out from first place. It's not like, oh, you're in like once, honestly, we see this every year. When it comes to the first through 5 in the West, they're all like right there, right? Mm-hmm. They're above. And then once you get to 6 and below, it's like, yo, they're all like a half a game away from each other. Mm-hmm. And I believe, like, if you honestly took Jokic off of the Nuggets as they're currently constructed with Murray out, I feel like they would drop more. Like, I feel like they would pretty much be in the same position. I won't say as the Suns, but maybe just maybe like you said, Phil, maybe like seventh or eighth. They would still be in that play-in tournament.
Well, here's the thing, and you mentioned a very important point that we can't gloss over with Murray out. Now, all things even and considered, if we had a healthy Jamal Murray, I still think they make the playoffs. Like maybe at the tail end, maybe at the tail end of the playoffs, but they still make the playoffs. So I think Murray being out is just a factor that is kind of an extraordinary circumstance. But if we're being neutral and all things even, take Joker out, take Chris Paul out, Denver still makes the playoffs. The Suns don't.
And because we've seen this over and over again, the Suns will start hot during the regular season and they'll tail off.
Always.
They've been doing that for the past 10, 15 years.
Always.
So that's what they've been doing.
Yeah. So, just to kind of wrap up this segment, I feel like we as a fan base, when we start thinking about MVP, I think we got to take it just a little deeper. Forget the numbers. Chris Paul is not going to have numbers that's going to make you run and jump, right? But when you start talking about impact, that is who deserves the MVP. And this season is Chris Paul for me. Hey, you can listen to the remainder of this episode of A Lady and Some Dudes on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts.
Paragon 7 Studios.
You're listening to another episode of A Lady and Some Dudes podcast. Welcome to another episode of A Lady and Some Dudes podcast. I'm your host for today, Alan, filling in for Dion and Evan. And today is going to be our NFL episode. Now, obviously, we know the draft took place on Thursday, but interesting news came out earlier that day. Now, there was a report that Aaron Rodgers said, I ain't coming back. I don't care who's there. I'm not coming back. Now, he's the reigning MVP. He's been to back-to-back NFC championships. And, it's Aaron Rodgers, right? But the thing is this, he doesn't want to come back. And he feels like he's been disrespected. Now, as we know, if he doesn't come back, obviously the Packers are going to have to trade him, right? Or it's also been acknowledged that he might even consider retirement. Now, the only way that he may come back, according to reports, is that the Packers GM is let go. Now, if that's true or not, I don't know. But I'm going to just throw it to either Phil or Calvin. How do you guys feel about this? Do you think he's going to get traded by the Packers, or do you think he's just going to retire and just go ahead and host Jeopardy? What y'all think?
I don't think he's going to retire at all. I think it's a real sticky situation going on over there in Green Bay. Of course, he felt like the first disrespectful move was, I guess, hiring that coach, and I guess they didn't consult him on that coach when they got rid of what's his name, McCarthy, I think it is, from the Dallas head coach now. So I feel like that was the first problem. Then the second problem was when they drafted that quarterback, in the first round. Instead of getting him receivers, he's in, I believe he's still in the prime of his career, especially in the sense where you talk about Tom Brady playing into his 40s. So anytime you got a generational talent like Aaron Rodgers, I feel like you gotta give him a lot more control than what Green Bay is trying to relinquish. So I think that he will get traded. I think that he will get traded, and I don't think he'll get traded where he wants to go, but I think he'll get traded because he's going to pull one of those James Hardens. We're not going to show up for anything, and then somebody's going to throw in everything, including the kitchen sink, to acquire a talent like Aaron Rodgers because they see people like Tom Brady still winning championships in his 40s. So because of those reasons, I think he will get traded. I don't think he'll be playing in the Packers uniform.
I'm gonna say because of the history of Green Bay, he's not coming back. They rumors are that he asked the GM, "Hey, I want more input," and they told him, I don't know if it's this GM or previous, I think it's this GM. And they told him, "Shut up and go play football." So for that moment, Aaron Rodgers knew how it feels to be a man of color. They told him, "Shut up and go play football." He is the franchise. He's the only reason you have hope to be even make the playoff. I think he missed the playoff probably once, and that was when he got injured. And they blatantly disrespect him, and he finally said, "This is the final straw." So, one, I think last year was the first time they drafted a first round receiver for him. If anybody wants to know who Aaron Rodgers would look like, think of if they did what, if the Green Bay Packers did what they did for Pat Mahomes at Kansas City. If they have given Aaron Rodgers elite of elite, top 3 in the NFL, top 2 maybe sometimes, the receivers they gave Pat Mahomes, he will be in the Super Bowl. Or offensive weapons, he will be in the Super Bowl practically almost every year. But what they tend to do is rely so much on him making guys who are normal any place else as superstars, and they rely upon that. So I think he's not going to come back. I think he may be going to the 49ers or maybe the Broncos, because the Broncos, the best time, and they messed up the whole thing. The best time to trade him was during the draft. They could have picked up a quarterback. They could have picked up a new quarterback. They could have got draft picks. They could have built around. But now what they're going to get? So once again, Green Bay fumbled the bag. They should they should receive fumble the bag award. So Denver, I think, might have felt like they're going to get him because they didn't draft a quarterback. So we will see what's going to happen. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming back unless they fire the GM. And I do believe that's probably if they don't fire the GM, they two are not going to work together. It's a wrap for Aaron Rodgers. He's out.
You know, I don't. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm gonna just say, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I've made the money. I'm the MVP. The money from the endorsements are still gonna come in. I don't got to worry about studying tape no more. As long as I get as long as I, you know what I'm saying, get to do Jeopardy and everything else. I'm sitting out because, for one, I don't think they're gonna fire the GM. For one. Number two, I also believe, like how you mentioned the Broncos, they're still trying to figure out their quarterback situation, but they just received Teddy Bridgewater and they still trying to groom Drew Lock. Now, you also mentioned Trey Lance to the Niners, but I think the whole issue is, and Kelvin mentioned it, that you need to be able to get Aaron Rodgers weapons, right? And they said this past season, Tavon Austin was the very first round pick that he's ever thrown the ball to, like, as a receiver. And think about how many years that Tavon Austin has actually been in the league, right? And so my whole thing is this, like, with Aaron Rodgers, the Packers, your whole focus should be win now. This is our window. And the fact that they're starting to worry about moving forward instead of focusing on the now, when you still got a player like Aaron Rodgers still in the prime of his career, it doesn't make any sense to worry about, oh, we need to worry about the future immediately. Now, if Aaron Rodgers is kind of like uncertain of what his future is going to be, you know what I'm saying, like years prior, but, you know, he's turned down an extension. What's the point of even coming back, right? So I think they need to trade him, but I don't know what is it going to take. Like, you're basically going to have to throw the bank at them in order for this to happen. So we'll just have to see what happens moving forward because it's going to be an interesting offseason. I mean, it's only May. Anything can happen between now and before training camp. But he may still be on the roster, but he, of course, isn't going to pull up.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio
For another pitch sandwich and some tater salad, I'll go a few more.
You want that?
Medium rare, a lot of horseradish. All right. I did, little man. Thinking he might get weak on that cop getting shot.
Yeah? Where's the body?
Druid Hill, behind the reptile house. Get back in the weeds, we might go find what's left of him.
All right, that's 7. What else you got?
How about them witnesses? The security lady, and what's his name? The maintenance man.
Gant?
Yeah, Gant.
You did Gant alone.
Got a tater salad, how about 12?
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Network.
Protect your personal information. Call my guys down at Second Eye IT Security for your business, personal, and technology needs. These consummate professionals have 20 years of both private and public sector experience. I personally use this product to protect my financial information from the cesspool of charlatans, hackers, and scam artists on the World Wide Web. For a free consultation, go to www.secondEYEITsecurity.com. Tell them that the Wolf of Wall Street sent you and receive a special discounted offer.
James Lewis.
There's so many people walking around with the Best Buy polo. Then you have the Sprint people. Then you have the Geek Squad people. Then you have
Geek Squad.
the Cox Cable people.
Right.
So there are 38 people walking around at Best Buy doing absolutely nothing.
Rampage, the first lieutenant of the Universal Flipmo Squad.
Can we say
No, we can't. We can't say that. We cannot say that.
Okay.
We shouldn't say that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Network.
Paragon 7 Studios.
Here we go. Prepare your radio to be blast. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You now tuned in to the Lance J Radio Show.
Let's transition outside of, with the Aaron Rodgers news. Later Thursday evening, we had the NFL draft, right? And so, of course, the obvious, Trevor Lawrence from Clemson went number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Zach Wilson and Trey Lance went 2 and 3 to the Jets and the Niners. And then everything else got a little bit more interesting. Now, I just want to ask Kelvin and Phil, you don't have to answer all 3, but who do you think your winners or your losers or your surprises of the draft are?
So the losers were the Giants. Losers, man. Like, they were so thirsty for my guy, Devontae Smith.
Yeah, the worst. Yeah, horrible.
They were so thirsty, man. It was like they had, like, what, you guys had a 12th pick or 11th pick, I think it was. And Dallas, I think, had the 10th pick or something like that. And, I didn't realize these guys wanted a wide receiver in the first round. But obviously, our GM, Howie Roseman, knew that they did. So he did a deal with a division rival. And, yeah, man, it was really funny, man. I felt bad for him because it was some Giants and the Eagles, man. It's like some new beef now. So we wasn't really beefing with them. They more beefing with us. But, yeah, besides that, I feel like I don't know. I don't think I know any team that really lost. I felt like everybody kind of did everything that was thought that the team should do, especially in the first 12 picks. I don't know if anybody truly lost. I mean, maybe you guys can probably help me with that one. But when I was watching the draft, I didn't see no really big surprises, except that one surprise that I think that really wasn't a surprise with the Mac Jones situation. Everybody thought he was going to go to San Fran, but I didn't. I think that was smokescreen anyway. I didn't think. I thought Justin Fields dropping was the biggest surprise of the draft for me. I thought he was the second best quarterback in that draft, and I feel like they kind of smeared his name. And maybe that newfound epilepsy had a lot to do with it. But I feel like the Bills, I mean not the Bills, but the Bears may have the best draft because they snatched up that guy, Justin Fields, at the position that they did.
I'm gonna agree with you. I would say the Bears are the clear winners. Not only they drafted, I believe, the second best quarterback in the draft, but they got offensive. They got offensive couple of linemen, a running back, receiver. They basically built the front line and some weapons. So Fields, we know, was it Jake? Not Jake Delhomme. We know Andy Dalton is not gonna be there for long, and Nick Foles. So I think they're setting them up. I think they're the ultimate winners of the draft. So I agree with that. Those no good, dirty Eagles, dirty birds, stinking rotten. They're jealous of us. They're so jealous. You give them one ring and they think they outsmart themselves. And once again, why did y'all lose that game on purpose? If you had kept and lost the game, you would have had that ninth spot and you could have drafted them. But no, everybody gets fired. So all for no reason. Didn't have to happen, but it's all right. You nasty Eagles. I hate the Eagles. The Giants, I think they did well, right? And Gettleman is to draft the best available person at that spot. So I'm happy with what they did, and I'm surprised with the Jets. The Jets actually drafted pretty well. You know, the Jets sit last year at um 2-14, and they approved their roster with what they needed. You know, they got Zach Wilson, they got a guard, they got a wide receiver Elijah Moore, a running back Michael Carter. You know, and I'm a Giants fan. I don't want to say anything good about the the Jets. So I'm gonna give Jets their credit, and I'm also give the Bengals their credit. I'll give them a B for their draft. You know, um, they basically they did decent. You know, better than their previous. Usually C's for them, and I'll give a shout out to Detroit because Detroit they got the guy they wanted to. I was shocked. Penn Swells, I think is Swilling, was dropped that far. And also,
But
I
the
gotta give the
offensive
Falcons.
tackle,
Yeah,
the
the
offensive
offensive
tackle,
tackle.
Phil.
Yeah,
Okay.
and also the Falcons. I think they got a steal too. They got that Kyle Pentis, the
He ain't a
tight end.
steal. He's not a
Pitts,
steal.
Pitts,
He's
Pitts.
where he's supposed to be. He's where he's supposed to be. He's not a steal. He's exactly where he's supposed to be.
For Detroit to actually do it right. Yeah, it was a steal for Detroit. You know Detroit no. Detroit usually just stole and pick and go play duck goose. So I'll give excuse me Falcons. The Falcons usually play duck goose. So it seems like they did believe in uh, Matt Ryan, Mighty Ice, and they're gonna move a little forward. The team I like to laugh at is the 49ers, just because my boy Mo, he's a listener too. He always texts me and tells me about how how his team is the greatest and they're good and so forth. So they did get Trey Lawrence and Mike Garoppolo. He's out the door. So Garoppolo, you are out the door. Garoppolo is a game manager, and my friend and I we had a big discussion. I said that Danny Dimes is better than Garoppolo, and I believe that based upon the numbers. So that's my little insight. What I think is going on in the draft.
I had a question for y'all though. Why is it that now it's okay to take a year off? Um, but anybody else that took a year off of college football, it was frowned upon. But now that you guys noticed since the COVID year, it was like it's no problem. A year off from playing, you didn't get the same reports or anything like that. Players still got drafted around high places like Jamar Chase or the offensive tackle from Oregon. But if it wasn't a COVID year and players took a year off, it's like a slight against them. Like I think it was Mike Williams that did it before, but it was such a knock or such like a bad look if a player took a year off. But now, because of the circumstances, it didn't affect draft status. Anybody thought that was interesting?
I do because the mentality they have because it's smart for these players to if they need to preserve themselves. They literally playing for they said education, but most of them don't graduate with a college degree. Yes, most institutions give the opportunity for them to come back, but I say money exchange in the sense of their service was given, and now they want to preserve their body for then where they get paid for to work. So why they frown upon? Because it's more, I believe it's selfish because the university wants that player who they feel they gave them a college degree or free tuition to work for them, exchange a barter system, well, labor for education. But the thing is, most of them don't finish with that education or degree, right? So it's frowned upon as they're not that exchange is not completed. At least 3 years, right? It's 3 years before you could go into the draft. So frowned upon. They'll put negative advertising about you to try to lower your draft stock. Why? Because the institution is jealous and upset. So that's why I think. So this year, like the COVID, give them a free pass, and I respect the player because you know your worth and you know where you're going. Do what's best for you and your family, because most of these players they may go back, but most of them don't graduate with a degree, right? So what was the whole point? College is to train you for your profession, whether or not you get the degree.
I also think along with that, they like to say you're not a team player. That is always the number one thing. Remember when Jadeveon Clowney sat out that year? Oh, he's not a team guy. Blah 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 blah. Man, the dude had like the greatest hit in college football history against Michigan, and you're gonna call him not a team guy? Like, even not even just sitting out the year, but when you think about it, Kelvin, they're talking about sitting out bowl games too. Like, oh, I don't want to get hurt because you're gonna think about it. It's that one last game. Like, I can really understand saying, oh, okay, I'm not trying to play in the Liberty Bowl because I mean, what if I get hurt and that's gonna hurt my status? Like a lot of people was pushing for even Tua to come back when he was healthy, and I'm like, nah, like, dude, you can be hurt and just be chilling on a team and remain and just chill on a bench your first year while you get healthy and get paid that we know of if you're not getting paid at Alabama. But I just look at it as they always look for some type of way to just make it seem like, oh, he's bad because I mean Jamar Chase him sitting out. I think it had to do a little bit more with not just with it just being COVID or whatever. It's just like basically like the whole scenario going on because like just looking at how LSU was, we started off with a starting quarterback, but then he ends up getting hurt. Then we had I think it was Terrence Marshall who got drafted in the second round or third round. He ended up opting out later in the year. And a lot of people was like, well, why are you doing that? And at this point, it's like, I mean, y'all already got tape on me anyway. So you can go on the tape that we already have. I mean, because we already know what I can produce on the field. So oftentimes, I mean, I just think that they just like to find a way to just create adversity for you when it's not real adversity. It's basically fake news. That's all it is to me.
Definitely agree, and I believe too when they take the year off, it gives them time to preserve their body rejuvenated. It takes time to get a hit again, get used to the hit. Trust me, I played football, but still, your body is rejuvenated, is healing, and these guys have been playing football since Pee Wee and up most of the time, so it's actually an advantage for them. And if you know you're gonna get your money, forget them. Take care of you and your family. I will never be against a player who says, you know what, I'm going to a different city, or I don't want to play, or I want to hold out because you know why? They at the end of their career, they pay for it with their bodies. If you look at a lot of these athletes, they all walk normal like us. They limp because they put their body through vigorous trials and tribulations and consequences so they could perform for us. So if any athlete I don't care if Julius Randle said, you know what, I'm done playing, or Shaquan Barkley said, you know what, I'm done playing. Hey, as long as you don't go to the Eagles, I'm good. Just enjoy your life. Even if you go wherever you want to do, it's a privilege to see you go out there and do your thing. So please don't such a negative cachet on these athletes. They doing what's best for them, and don't be selfish for your own greed or your own rewards you look for.
But that's nothing but facts right there. But I do want to talk about Justin Fields. I mean, it's for once I finally found a reason to why why his stock dropped. I finally saw it. I was watching NFL Live this week, and the main thing, although I didn't really think it was a big deal, it finally had something to do with football that actually seemed kind of sort of legitimate. It had to do more about his mechanics. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but whatever. Like, that can be fixed over time. It's just basically he just got the ball out the way his mechanics when he throws the ball doesn't stay above his arm, it kind of goes under, makes the release longer. Okay, fine. I mean, that's fixable. Cool, whatever. Like, but when it comes to certain talents, there's certain things that you can live with. Now, if it's not affecting the game at all, I mean, you'll be able to see that in OTAs or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's when you can start like slowly just implementing it in. It's baby steps. Like, let's not act like he's going to step in and immediately just go ahead and have it fixed. He's pretty much is going to end up like a Patrick Mahomes situation. Andy Dalton is a bridge for a year. You got Nick Foles there. So basically, you're behind two backups. So he's pretty much in a great position to move forward if he ends up either starting this year or starting next year, whatever the case may be. But one thing that we always realize about Chicago, they're always kind of like in that win now situation, because now think about it. If Aaron Rodgers is out the door, that division is wide open. I mean, can you really depend on Minnesota? I mean, the Lions are the Lions. I mean, who else? So I feel like this is a great opportunity for Justin Fields for when his moment arrives. Hey, they might be able to run the division with him, because you already got a good defense. You already got some playmakers over there. So I feel like him dropping down to 15 is a blessing in disguise. Like, it seems bad like pre-draft, but now looking at it, it looks pretty good. I like what Miami did. You got another Alabama connection. Same way you have it in Philly with Tua and Jalen, also with I've had to make sure there's two Jalen. There's Jalen Waddle and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Waddle and Tua. Now you also have another opportunity with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. So now we have some more explosive offenses on the field. Mac Jones at 15 will actually be interesting to see how that is moving forward. I mean, he's a solid quarterback, but I mean, he's kind of like that regular guy that Tom Brady looked like in his beginning years of New England, and then he's transformed into this superstar over time when the moment is hot. I feel like, I don't want to say he's going to be the next player like that, but I feel like they have a feeling that it can potentially be that. Any others? I mean, obviously my squad got Najee Harris, but I know we got some additional offensive linemen. I'm actually interested about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, I don't expect them to be good this year, but you got Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne in the backfield. So, I mean, I ain't saying they're going to win the division, but as long as Urban Meyer has the right coaching staff and the right personnel on the squad, I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they look moving forward.
Hey, you can listen to the remainder of this episode of A Lady and Some Dudes on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts.